Right now, from KTAB News, your local election headquarters, this is Big Country Politics.
All right, welcome to Big Country Politics. I'm Victor Sotelo. A little change in format today. We usually start with news, but we've got such a big topic today. Judge Downing Bolls, Taylor County Judge, is joining us live in the studio. Thank you very much for being here.
No problem at all, Vic. Glad to be here.
Well, and the topic is, and we ran a little story about this a couple of weeks ago. It's hard to fit it in a little 2-minute package, but so let's start like this. People are watching the news. They see somebody who has committed a crime maybe and is out on bail, and they're thinking, well, why is this person out on bail? How did this person get out on bail when they did this and this and this, and the bail wasn't set high enough? And this is kind of what we're talking about today, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And Victor, what we're talking about and what you'll be hearing a lot about is Senate Bill 6. This is the Senate bill that came out of the last session of the legislature. You may remember in the last legislative session, there was a group who left and went to Washington, D.C. for a while, and so the legislature in its regular session did not have enough time to get those bills addressed. So the governor started calling a series of special sessions, okay? This bill was earmarked for action during the regular session, but it didn't make it out of the regular session. It didn't make it out of the first special session. So the governor, you may remember, called a second special session. And at that, he declared it an emergency and said, we have got to do something about this problem. And the problem, the nature of the problem is that not enough information gets to the people who set bail. So that's one reason why bail rates differ in county to county. It's one reason why you keep seeing these incidents where a person is out and there may be a dangerous person or a violent person, but they're out on a bail or a low bail, which allows them to post bail and get right back out on the streets. So consequently, in an effort to try to resolve that, there was an incident that happened in Houston back on Thanksgiving Eve.
I read about that.
Damon Allen was a DPS trooper. And in Freestone County, he had made a traffic stop, okay? What he did not know was the guy that he had stopped was an offender who had several charges already pending against him, but also had been convicted on some things. So when the bail was set in his particular case for those other offenses, the bail was set too low. So he got out on the street and he was stopped in a routine traffic stop. Now, when you're an offender and you're out on charges and you get stopped for any offense,
it's a big deal.
You're going back in.
Yep.
Okay, and so at some point, he took a gun out of his car. He had a gun with him, which is you're not allowed to do when you're on probation. Yeah, as a felon. So he took the gun out and basically ambushed the trooper, okay? And so they looked at that and said, that's got to stop. Now, there was another incident you may remember about where a person was driving while they were intoxicated. And they were in a pickup truck and ran off the side of the road and hit a van that had some people in it. They were on a tour, I think, of Texas, killed several of them. Again, this was a situation where a person had all the past crimes. Why were they driving a vehicle? Why they were allowed to do that while they were intoxicated, which is the same situation that existed when the accident happened. So all of those things taken together, the state said, we have got to do a better job of setting bail.
Well, and this is about information and how information gets to a person, like you said at the beginning, to a person who sets bail. And here in Taylor County, we have 6 Justice of the Peace,
yes, sir.
JPs.
Yes, sir.
And they are the ones, let's say somebody gets arrested and it's before 5 o'clock. The offender goes with law enforcement to the JP's office, depending on where they're at in Taylor County. And this is happening in all counties, by the way. If they're closer to that JP, then they'll go to this JP, and then the JP's out in the county usually. And then they take the information given to them by the police officer, the charge, and then based on that, and more importantly, or in a perfect world, they would take that information of that crime and the past information. And based on those two pieces of information, they set bail. Now, the problem is JPs don't have that past information or don't have easy access to it. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's there's a lot of ways that information gets collected and reported. Okay, one of the problems that JPs have is that, well, first of all, they're magistrates. Okay, that's when you come in and they magistrate you when you're arrested. That's where you come before the judge and he tells you what it is you're charged with. It's not the formal charging process, but it's magistrate. You have to appear before that judge, and he has to figure out, do we need to keep you? Do you need to go to jail right away? Can I release you? Will you show up? And when he sets bail, he considers several things. First of all, are you going to show up for trial? If I release you on your own recognizance, have you promised that you'll show up for the trial? Are you indeed going to show up on the day of the trial? That's probably the one everybody knows about bail. But there's other things that are considered by the judge or the magistrate. Is this person likely to offend if I release him? Will he go right back out and do the things that he's doing already that got him arrested? Or will he do something else? The other thing is that if it doesn't look like he's likely to go out and commit another crime, then the other thing is, what is the danger he poses to the people who either reported him or the victims of the crime that he was initially arrested for? So all of those things get considered by a judge in making a determination of what the bail is going to look like and whether the person will be released on bail. What this Senate Bill 6 does is it has certain crimes that if they're capital crimes, you can't get bail anymore. You can't be charged with capital murder or commission if you killed somebody in the commission of another crime, which makes it a capital crime. If it's a crime of violence against persons, involves a firearm, act of family violence, those kind of things will no longer be, those things will be where bail may be refused completely. So that's one of the changes it makes. But the other thing is that it is going to give those justices of the peace an opportunity to look at all of that history and making a determination of what should that bail be. Now, they can't use all of it to set a bail specifically for a certain thing, but they can take all those things under consideration in determining those past incidents. He can take that under consideration when he's setting that bond.
And right now, and when we come back from commercial, right now the problem is accessing that information out in the county where these JP's offices are.
Right.
Now, I do know we have Precinct 1 and Precinct 2 here in town. Do they also have that problem? Or because it's here in town and it's in the county building, is that a difference? I mean,
that's not what the difference is. The difference is that the Office of Court Administration in the state, who oversees the operation of all the courts, they were ordered by the state legislature to create this computerized system that the JPs can log into to get that information available. It requires the preparation of a report that has to be provided to the Justice of the Peace, and he can look at that as he goes in and does the process of setting that bail or setting that bond, that he can look at that and take that under consideration, because it says you have to have that now. You have to have that report in front of you where you can look through it and see all the way down.
And I want to talk about that report, and I want to talk about getting that information, that process, when we come back here on Big Country Politics. That was good.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
All right, welcome back to Big Country Politics, and we've got kind of a complicated issue that we're talking about. In this first segment, we talked about the JPs. We have six JPs here in Taylor County, and their problem is taking pieces of information and setting a bail, and getting that information to set the proper bail, or perceived by that judge anyway, a proper bail for the safety of the public. So where were we? We were JP's accessing the information on a database, which, by the way, people probably think this database already exists, where police can go in there, type in a name, and all your history will come up.
There's lots of things that are out there. When a police officer gets into his vehicle, or a law enforcement officer, and they have that computer terminal there, some of that information they can pull up on that computer, get information off of it, they can see, and they can access that. But the problem is that the Justice of the Peace doesn't have any of that. He can't see that. And so when the magistrate, when he's getting ready to magistrate a case, he can come in and what limited information he has, he will go, well, I don't believe this guy's really a danger to anybody. I mean, he's he got pulled over for a traffic offense. Well,
because what he's getting is
but
real
what
time
he doesn't know that
information.
the guy has been charged with a attempted murder of a police officer in the past or something. So these things are that judge should know before he makes a decision like that. Now the judge, when he gets that, or the magistrate, when he gets that form now that he'll get that will have all this information on it, when he gets that, he cannot look at that and say, I'm going to set bail just based on what I've got here on this form. No, he's got to consider other things as well. But he will have that information available to him now. So when this guy tells you that, no, I'm not charged with any other crime, well, I know different. Okay, I know that you're waiting trial on 2 charges in San Antonio or something. So, so he'll have that information available now, where he can make a better decision about whether this guy constitutes a risk or not. The other part of it is that, and I think this gets lost in the discussion sometimes, is that this will also help out the person who is picked up for a relatively minor offense that is not a danger to anybody else and things such as that. And instead of him sitting in the jail for 6 months waiting to go to trial, if he's not a risk and he will show up for trial and you have every reason to believe that he is releasable and he can make bail, then go ahead and let him do that, so that you don't have a lot of people sitting in jail that are waiting trial that cannot make bail because either they're in poverty or something else like that. They can't get bonded. But this will give that judge the opportunity to look at that as well and to say, okay, I believe that this guy, it's there's no such thing as really a minor offense. But again, these things, all Senate Bill 6 addresses is criminal crimes.
Criminal history, really.
Yeah.
So as of right now, Justice of the Peace in Taylor County, what do they have access to right now when an offender appears before them, brought in by law enforcement who has just been arrested for an offense? That day they take them right to the JP. What does the JP have access to right now?
The JP has access to whatever his clerk can get access to. They'll get all the paperwork that comes in on what the offense was and what the reason this person was pulled over was, what their belief is. And so he gets all of that and can look at that. He can have the officer's report and things such as that as he looks at. He does not get, right now, he doesn't get the full criminal history of everything that the state has on this guy, where he might be charged with offenses in several different counties. Mm-hmm. And in the past, those would have been reported through what's called the TLETS system, which is what goes to law enforcement. But this will now be collected, whatever OCA has, it'll be funneled to them. But the necessity is having somebody who will have that information and prepare it in a form that is available to the judge. And that's kind of where local counties get involved. And because we don't know what that's going to take, we've got 6 JPs that this information has to be prepared every day. Mm-hmm. So if a person gets brought in over the weekend, we've got to be sure that that information is there and ready and available to the judge to see on Monday morning when he magistrates them.
You said this was taken care of in a special session. Mm-hmm. And there's these mandates coming down from the state after this was passed. And one of them is getting this system in place. Another is getting people trained on this system.
Right.
And really accessing the information. Where do you access it from? And this has all got to be in place by what date?
April the 1st.
April 1st. Tomorrow, that's right. Yeah. So by the way, we're recording this on Thursday, the 31st. By the time they watch this will need to be in place. Right. So when we come back from commercial, I want to talk about the solutions that y'all have talked about in Commissioner's Court, and I heard a couple of those by listening to the meeting, and y'all got kind of a plan laid out to take care of that stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
And as soon as we come back here on Big Country Politics, we're going to find out what Taylor County is doing for this unfunded mandate, I guess?
It is characterized as an unfunded mandate, and we'll talk about that.
All right, you'll have to deal with that all the time, don't
Yes,
you?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. We'll be back on Big Country Politics.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
All right, right, welcome back to Big Country Politics. We're continuing our interview with Judge Downing Bolls, a Taylor County judge, and we're talking about an unfunded mandate, Senate Bill 6, which helps judges, JPs, set bail on offenders, and they want that process to be a little more thorough, so there are not any dangerous people out on too low, bails. But we've talked about accessing the information and what the information is for. We've talked about what JPs are expected to do and how they set bails. Now I want to talk about the county's solution for this, to get that information to the JPs that are spread out all over Taylor County, 6 of them. And so they have to be able to bring in an offender, look at them, look at the current charge, and then access this information. And then based on that and the current charge and some other pieces of information, they set a bond. How do you guys, for now, I guess, get that information out to the JPs by April 1st? By the time this airs, it needs to be done.
Well, Victor, I'll tell you, first of all, because of the time frame involved, we're not the only county who's trying to deal with these things right now. So I go to judge school every year and have to do so. And so at the last session when we had this judge school a few weeks ago, everybody was talking about this, about how are we going to get this thing in place? Who's going to be responsible for it? Who's going to create this report? All those kind of things. And all these were unanswered questions, We do know that the Office of Court Administration in the state will have the responsibility for developing a computerized program that will collect this information for us, okay? What we have to do then is to have the systems in place to be able to access that program. Now, right now, the program is not up and running, okay?
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. So what we have to do is try to scavenge around and try to collect what information we can. And a lot of that information is, again, part of the TLET's computerized operation. So those reports exist, but what we have to do now is have somebody who can access that information. And to do that, they have to be trained on TLETs. Now, most justices of peace clerks are trained on that, okay? The system is set up for law enforcement, and so what has to happen now is basically those JPs will have to access that information by themselves or through their clerks, okay? So we do have a law librarian in Taylor County. Part of her duties is to access is to operate the law library for people who come in who want to use the law library for public or for information about law enforcement. Sure. The public in general is not allowed to see this report. Okay, it is not a public report. It is protected. Okay, so. But that job of that clerk is going to be to try to get these reports together. But remember, we've got 6 different JPs, and so she'll generate one report that'll go out to every one of the JPs, and that's the way that we're going to approach it from the start. It may be that this is so burdensome that we have to have more than that. So we've looked at the possibility of maybe having an office that will do this. And I hate to create more government because more government costs people and costs tax dollars, but there would be 1 or 2 clerks in that office then who would generate this report and make sure it gets available to the JPs that it needs to. But again, right now we're going to try to address it as minimally cost invasive as it has to be on the taxpayer, but at the same time understand that it's going to necessitate purchasing computers. It's going to necessitate equipping her to be able to access this information, go to school and get the training she needs to get. We're going to have to figure out who's going to have access to this system. All of that has to be figured out and in place before it gets going. So it'll take a little bit of time to get up to speed on this, but I think once it's all in place and gets operated, people will become more comfortable with it, and we'll be able to get those reports out.
So right now, the solution for the county is to a JP out in the county has an offender come in, brought in by law enforcement who has just broken the law. They're getting the information from that law officer about what they just did. Now we need the past information, the criminal history. They're going to call over to the courthouse where your office is, and the law librarian, or actually it's in the new courthouse now, right? Right. They're going to call over to that person, the one person, and she is going to sit down at a secure computer in a secure location because the public can't be around when she accesses
right,
this.
Right.
And then access the information and then send it out to the JP. And that's the temporary solution
that's
right now.
as it's designed right now. Now, it may be very well that she'll generate that document and send it out before the JP ever calls up and asks for it, where it automatically goes out to all the JPs. Because remember that depending on who the offender is and where they're picked up by the police, they will go to any one of those 6 JP offices. So that document may not be needed in 3, in 5 of the JP offices, but 1 has to have it. So it may be more efficient for her to generate and send it out on a computer terminal to the other JP offices. And if they need it, they can download it. If they don't, then they don't.
And it just goes away.
Yeah, it just goes away.
Okay. When we come back, we have one more segment. I want to talk about what you envision this system being once it is in place, and once we buy everything we need to buy and everything is running like it's supposed to.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk to you about that when we come back on Big Country Politics.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
Welcome back to Big Country Politics with Taylor County Judge Downing Bolls. And Judge, we've talked about everything else during the last segments, and I won't go back and explain because we only have about a minute left, a little more than a minute. Where do you envision this process being once it's in place?
I think, Victor, it's going to be a win-win for everybody. I really do believe that. And it's new, and because it's new and it's so different from what they've done before, it does have some blowback on it right now. But I think once they get used to the system gets in place, it's going to be protecting the public. It's going to protect law enforcement who's out there dealing with the criminal element. And more than that, it's going to make the system run better because everybody will now be using the same criteria in making decisions about bail and those kind of things like that. So there is uniformity in the system.
Well, and so once the system in place, I'm a judge, somebody comes before me, I listen to the information from the law officer, I access this information, maybe my law clerk does, she hands me or sends it over to me, I look at it, and based on all this information, then I set a proper bail, and it should be instantaneous, I guess, because the computer system will be in place.
And the JPs will have a better idea of what's the appropriate bail that's on there. Remember, all of these criteria that they have to meet in setting bail and take under consideration, they will have a better handle to look at all of that.
So safer for the public, safer all the way around.
Right.
All right, Judge Downing Bolls, Taylor County Judge, thank you very much and for coming here and explaining this process here, unfunded mandate. I know you guys have to deal with that all the time.
Well, Victor, I appreciate the opportunity to explain to the public because it does get kind of scary sometimes, but everybody's working trying to make things better. So.
All right. Thank you, Judge Bolls. Yes, and that does it for this week's edition of Big Country Politics. Remember, for the latest in political headlines, always go to bigcountryhomepage.com. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, same place. Thanks.